here to do the devil's work.
Have you ever just wanted to take a vacation and go backpacking across the moors of England? Stop in for a pint at a silly tavern and mingle with all the locals? Maybe pick up a sexy nurse out there? Go see a wholesome movie? And then violently transform into a giant wolf-like monstrosity massacring everything in sight near Piccadilly Circus? Well, if so, American Werewolf in London is definitely the movie for you.
You'll become... I know. A monster.
For this week's Month of Horror, I figured I would talk about what is widely regarded as the greatest werewolf movie ever made, and it's hard to disagree with that. In 1981, director John Landis set out to make a film dealing with the concepts of communicating with the dead and the ancient legends of werewolves, but also adding the specific flair that he has with his comedic talents into the story as well, because at the time, Landis was mostly known for comedies like The Blues Brothers or Animal House, which are great movies in their own way, and also his debut film was a ridiculously cheesy monster movie called Schlock. It's amazing, and Landis himself actually plays the creature in the movie. Love it. Sometimes it's debated on whether or not American Werewolf in London is a straight horror movie or if it's meant to be a horror comedy, if it's just a comedy, or you could just say it's a dark comedy, since a lot of the funnier moments actually come from an extremely macabre and sadistic sense of humor. But however you want to think about it, the movie is absolutely memorable and one hell of an entertaining ride from start to finish. The film opens with our two protagonists, David and Jack, backpacking through the moors of Yorkshire, and they're just your typical young guys looking for an adventure, and they're talking about girls that they know, and nothing too crazy is going on at first. As the weather starts to get bad, they enter a small town and notice a tavern called the Slaughtered Lamb, which is a name that I've absolutely loved for a tavern since I saw this movie for the first time. I love this opening of the film because right off the bat, everything just feels so uncomfortable. It gives you a good atmosphere of being in a foreign place. As they enter the pub, it's almost like every single patron there is in on some dark secret and nobody wants them to be there. They're shunned from the get-go and made to feel so awkward that they would want to leave on their own, but they try to stick around for a little while. One of the patrons tells a great joke making fun of Americans, but it's a little bit too long of a joke to include without worrying about copyrights from a clip. But I'm just saying, as an American, I love this joke.
Remember the Alamo! A joke's out the Mexican!
Soon after, though, the boys ask about why there is a pentagram star drawn on the wall, and they even make reference to it being the five-pointed star that is shown in the Wolfman movie. Once they mention it, the entire place gets eerily uncomfortable, and you see how on edge everybody seems to be. Eventually, they force the two Americans to leave, but leave them with one warning, which is stay on the roads and stay clear of the moors. Well, guess what? They walk onto the moors. And in an extremely effective sequence, they soon begin to realize that something is stalking them from the shadows, giving us one of the greatest jump scares ever in horror.
Scared me, you shithead. You gonna help me up or what?
David then wakes up in a hospital and is shocked to find out that he's been unconscious for several weeks, and also his friend Jack was killed by whatever attacked them. The authorities claim that it was a man, since that's the dead body that they found near them, but only David remembers that it was actually a wolf. Nobody believes him, of course, and what follows are a handful of really disturbing and creative dream sequences that David has. There's one where he himself is out hunting animals like a savage, where he's completely naked. And probably the craziest one is when he has a dream where he's back home with his family, and then out of nowhere, a group of Nazi demon-like creatures break down the door, start blasting everybody in half, killing everything, setting everything on fire, and slitting his throat. This scene is so fucking random, but terrifying in the best way possible. When you're watching it, you're thinking, wait, isn't this supposed to be a werewolf movie? Well, it is, but you also get Nazi monsters, so more bang for your buck. Maybe all werewolves have dreams like this. I don't know. It's one of the only movies I've seen where they do the double dream thing, and not only does it actually work, but I also actually like it.
Holy shit.
Basically, it culminates into David seeing a vision of his dead friend Jack, still looking like he was freshly killed. The nightmare scenes enhance this moment because we don't know if Jack is real or just another dream, and neither does David. But Jack explains here that they were attacked by a werewolf, and in the lore of this movie, everybody killed by the wolf is unable to pass on to the afterlife and have to walk the earth in limbo until the wolf's bloodline is completely destroyed. Since David was bitten, he will become the next werewolf, and so the souls, including Jack's, cannot rest until he's dead. Of course, David doesn't want to believe him, but we know that he's telling the truth. Now, this next part is really what I wish would happen to me if I go visit another country, because David's sexy nurse named Alex actually takes him to her place after he's discharged so that he has someplace to stay, and not 1 minute after they get to her apartment, they're already banging in the shower. I mean, okay, I assume that because he's a werewolf, there's like this primal sexual energy to him or something that makes her attracted. Maybe some wolfy pheromones or something like that. I don't know what it is. But you know what? Maybe it would be worth turning into a monster and damning everybody that you kill for all eternity if you also had this one specific ability to just instantly pick up sexy nurses. Anyway, after they bang, he gets another warning from Jack, and I love how every single time you see Jack appear, he becomes more and more decayed and zombified, but still, David doesn't want to listen to him. It all builds up until the first full moon and the iconic transformation scene. This scene has gone down in horror history as one of the greatest werewolf transformations of all time, and it even won Rick Baker, the special effects artist, an Academy Award for the sequence. The thing that stands out about it is that they make the entire process feel like a grueling, painful experience. And at this time, people were used to the slow dissolve transformation effects of the classic Wolfman. But here in this movie, you hear every bone breaking and extending. You see the body crack and crunch and extend into place. And the actor's reaction only amplifies that because you see that he's just in this horrible amount of pain, but there's also this look of hopelessness that he has, that he can do nothing about what he's experiencing, and he just has to endure it. Now, when it comes to the actual werewolf design, they decided to go for an actual wolf-like creature, one that walks on all fours, having virtually no resemblance that it's in any way human. They also chose to not show the wolf a lot in the movie, which is a little bit of a double-edged sword for me. Sometimes I hate it when they don't show you the monster because I've never agreed with the sentiment that the monster is scarier if you don't see it. I would rather actually just see it. However, there are some examples of movies like Jaws and this movie also, where the subtlety and the use of the monster in the movie is actually so effective that I can't really complain. Like, one of my favorite sequences is when the wolf is attacking the man in the subway. First, you see a POV shot of the man running through this narrow hallway as if you are the wolf, and then when he trips and falls, you do see the wolf, but only from very far away as he slowly enters the top of the frame, and it might be my favorite shot of the entire movie. After a bunch of killings that night, David wakes up the next morning naked in a zoo, and the actor is literally butt-ass naked in a pen with actual wolves. Dear God, that's actually the scariest part of the movie for me. Well, that part and the fact that a grown-ass naked man is telling a little kid to come behind the bushes for him, but don't worry, he just wants to take the kid's balloons.
A naked American man stole my balloons. What?
I also love when David realizes he's a wolf and he tries to get himself arrested so that he can be locked up and not hurt anybody else, and the police officer is just so pleasant and nice and doesn't care at all. If this was America, he would have been shot 10 times by now. Also, I always wondered why he never just tried to punch the cop. I mean, I'm assuming that would get him arrested, but then again, this cop is really nice, so maybe it wouldn't work. When Jack makes his final appearance, he brings David into a porno theater, now as a purely animatronic puppet, and he looks great. Again, I'm so glad that this movie came out before the advent of CGI, because I could not imagine him looking any different than the puppet form that we see in this movie. It looks fantastic. He's here with all of David's victims from the previous night, and they're all here coaxing him into killing himself so that they can rest in peace. And this scene has such a morbid sense of humor to it that I love. All this dialogue is almost exactly like what it's like in my brain when I'm sitting alone in my room at 3 a.m.
Oh, a gun would be good.
Yes, you just put the gun to your forehead and pull the trigger.
But if you put it in your mouth, you'd be sure not to miss.
Thank you. You're all so thoughtful.
The climax of this movie is where you see the most amount of the monster, even though it's still very subtle. David transforms inside the theater, and then he bursts out into Piccadilly Circus, just causing absolute havoc. He's biting off heads, causing car crashes, people are running and screaming everywhere. John Landis, the director, gets thrown through a window. And it's one of my favorite final scenes in all of horror. But it doesn't last long, as he's soon cornered in an alleyway, and in this werewolf lore, you don't need a silver bullet. You just need lots of regular bullets. Even though the nurse girl tries to get to him and talk him down, the police gang up and fire multiple rounds into the wolf, effectively killing David. And another one of my favorite things is right here, the movie just ends. It's so abrupt, but abruptly perfect. The monster is dead. The movie is over. Cut to credits. Nothing more to say. It's another darkly comedic aspect about the film, but it's one that I've always loved. American Werewolf in London is a treat for any horror fan, and with so few great werewolf movies out there, it's definitely one of the best. It just might not give you as much actual physical werewolf scenes as you want, but the entertainment value, the characters, and the special effects are all top of their game. If you guys have seen or if you love American Werewolf in London, let me know all your favorite bits, favorite scenes, and comments down below. Really appreciate it if you gave this video a like and a comment to help it out in the algorithm, get my month of horror videos out there to the horror fans. Also, if you guys weren't aware, I dropped my massive 6.5 hour giant Friday the 13th retrospective video, so that is now available on the channel for you guys too. If you got some time to kill, or if you need something to fall asleep to, or you need something to watch all night long, I got you. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching this video. If you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have Patreon, channel memberships, merch store, and all that stuff linked in the description below, as well as the various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next Friday with another review.
Have you ever talked to a corpse? It's boring.